Have you ever wondered whether the next penny you pull from an old coffee can, dusty toolbox, or forgotten coin jar could completely change your financial future? It sounds unbelievable, yet every year ordinary Americans discover coins that collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts to own. And among the coins that continue to spark curiosity is the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent penny without a mint mark. Most are worth only a single cent, but a tiny number with extraordinary characteristics have become the center of intense collector attention. Before you spend another old penny without looking at it, you may want to hear this story until the very end, because one small detail could make all the difference. In 1973, millions of Lincoln cents were struck for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint. At that time, Philadelphia pennies normally carried no mint mark, so finding a 1973 penny without one is completely normal. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Hidden among the billions of ordinary coins are a handful that stand apart because of remarkable condition, dramatic minting mistakes, or unique combinations of characteristics that serious collectors spend years searching for. Imagine opening a drawer that hasn't been touched in decades. Between old receipts and faded photographs sits a small jar of pennies. Most people would carry it straight to the bank without a second thought. A collector would do something entirely different. They would slow down, examine every coin under bright light, and ask one simple question. Is this one different? That single question has transformed forgotten pocket change into headline-making discoveries. Now here's something that surprises many beginners. The date alone rarely creates enormous value. What separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one is often a combination of rarity, preservation, and unusual minting characteristics. A blazing red, uncirculated example with razor-sharp details can attract far more attention than a worn coin that spent decades passing from hand to hand. And before you think every old penny is a jackpot, here's the funny part. We've all known someone who says, "I had one of those years ago. I probably bought a candy bar with it." Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. That's exactly why collectors insist on checking every single coin instead of relying on memory. As excitement builds around rare Lincoln cents, stories often circulate online about spectacular prices reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those extraordinary figures generally involve exceptionally rare examples with unique qualities, elite grading, or remarkable mint errors that separate them from ordinary circulation coins. When collectors compete for something they may never see again, bidding can become fierce beyond imagination. But how do you know whether your coin deserves a closer look? Start with the overall appearance. Does Lincoln's portrait still show crisp hair details? Are the letters sharp and complete? Is the surface free from heavy scratches or corrosion? Original color matters as well. Brilliant red copper often commands much stronger interest than darker brown examples, especially when preserved for decades. Now look even closer. Do you notice doubling in the lettering? Any strange cracks? Off-center striking? Missing design elements? An unusually broad rim? These minting errors are exactly the kinds of features that experienced collectors hope to discover. Many errors are minor, but occasionally an exceptional mistake transforms an ordinary coin into an unforgettable collectible. Here's another question. When was the last time you actually examined the pennies sitting in your home? Yesterday? Last year? Never? That simple pause might be the difference between overlooking something special and recognizing a coin that deserves professional evaluation. As the mystery deepens, another factor enters the story. Grading. Professional grading services carefully inspect coins for authenticity, preservation, and overall quality. Even two pennies struck moments apart can receive dramatically different grades after decades of circulation. One may show heavy wear and remain inexpensive, while another preserved almost perfectly can attract passionate bidding from advanced collectors seeking the finest known examples. That competition creates urgency. Every year more high-grade coins become damaged, cleaned improperly, or lost forever. Truly exceptional survivors become increasingly difficult to locate. Supply shrinks while collector demand continues. That simple economic reality explains why premium examples can appreciate dramatically over time. But don't rush to polish your penny. This is one of the biggest mistakes new collectors make. Cleaning almost always reduces collector value because it alters the original surfaces. Ironically, trying to make a coin look newer can make it significantly less desirable. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is absolutely nothing except handle it carefully by the edges. Picture two neighbors discovering identical-looking jars of old coins. One cashes them in at face value before dinner. The other spends an evening examining each penny carefully, researching dates, looking for unusual features, and setting aside anything promising. Which person gives themselves the better chance of uncovering something remarkable? The answer seems obvious, yet countless valuable collectibles have disappeared simply because nobody stopped to look. The fascination surrounding the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent reminds us that hidden opportunities often appear in the most ordinary places. A coin worth 1 cent yesterday may deserve another look today if it possesses the uncommon characteristics collectors seek. That possibility keeps treasure hunters searching through inherited collections, estate sales, flea markets, and forgotten piggy banks across America. And here's the biggest surprise of all. The true excitement isn't only about money. It's about holding a small piece of American history that has traveled through thousands of hands, witnessed decades of change, and somehow survived long enough to reach yours. Every scratch tells a story. Every preserved detail connects the present to the past. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a cash register, take a closer look. Examine every date. Study every surface. Compare every detail. You never know which ordinary-looking coin might reveal an extraordinary story. The next incredible discovery won't announce itself with flashing lights. It will look exactly like every other penny until someone curious decides to stop, pay attention, and uncover what everyone else overlooked. Imagine reaching into a jar of old pennies that has been sitting on a shelf for decades, pulling out a single copper-colored coin, and discovering that it could be worth far more than a brand-new luxury car. It sounds like the beginning of a Hollywood movie, yet stories like this continue to inspire collectors across America. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating mystery behind the 1975 Lincoln cent, a coin that millions of people have handled without giving it a second glance. But here's the question that keeps collectors awake at night. Could one ordinary-looking penny be hiding an extraordinary secret? Most people spend pennies without hesitation. They disappear into cash registers, cup holders, couch cushions, and forgotten piggy banks. Yet every year, collectors search through thousands of rolls because they understand something most people don't. Sometimes the smallest details create the biggest rewards. The 1975 Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a period when billions of Lincoln pennies were entering circulation. On the surface, that sounds like terrible news for anyone hoping to find a valuable example. After all, how can something made in enormous numbers become desirable? That's where the story becomes interesting. Collecting isn't about finding any 1975 penny. It's about finding the right 1975 penny. Tiny differences in condition, striking quality, and rare minting errors can completely change how collectors view a coin. A single microscopic detail can separate a coin worth 1 cent from one worth hundreds, thousands, or, in exceptionally rare cases involving extraordinary characteristics, much more. Now here's something that surprises many beginners. The letter D beneath the date simply tells us the coin was produced at the Denver Mint. It doesn't automatically make the coin valuable. If only it were that easy, we'd all be retired by now. But don't stop watching, because the real story begins with what happened after these coins left the mint. Picture this. A freshly minted penny falls into a bank bag in 1975. It enters circulation, buys candy, pays for gas, disappears into cash drawers, survives decades of inflation, and somehow avoids being damaged beyond recognition. Every scratch it avoids, every fingerprint it escapes, increases its chances of becoming desirable decades later. Condition is everything. Collectors often search for examples with sharp details, bright original surfaces, and minimal wear. These high-grade survivors are dramatically scarcer than most people imagine because pennies work harder than almost any other coin. They bounce through pockets, vending machines, and countless transactions before eventually wearing down. But condition isn't the only thing creating excitement. Let's talk about mint errors. This is where the hunt becomes addictive. Some 1975 Lincoln cents display striking anomalies that occurred during production. Collectors carefully inspect coins for dramatic off-center strikes, doubled design elements, clipped planchets, die cracks, die breaks, or other unusual characteristics created during the minting process. Most coins are perfectly ordinary. A tiny percentage are anything but. Imagine examining a penny under magnification and suddenly noticing something that shouldn't exist. That single discovery can transform an overlooked coin into the centerpiece of a collection. And here's the funny part. Some people spend more time choosing breakfast cereal than examining a coin that could deserve a closer look. Don't let your pennies suffer that kind of neglect. Before we continue, ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies sitting in your home? Exactly. That forgotten coffee can in the garage might deserve another visit. As collector demand has grown over the years, exceptional Lincoln cents have continued attracting serious attention at major auctions. Rare combinations of outstanding preservation and remarkable mint errors have produced eye-catching prices that inspire treasure hunters everywhere. Stories about spectacular auction results spread quickly because they remind everyone that remarkable discoveries still happen. However, there's an important distinction every smart collector understands. Extraordinary prices are reserved for exceptionally rare examples that possess the precise qualities buyers compete to own. The average circulated 1975 cent remains common, while truly exceptional pieces become the focus of intense bidding. That's why authentication and professional grading matter so much. Imagine believing you've discovered something incredible, only to learn it isn't genuine. It happens more often than people realize. Experienced collectors rely on careful examination and reputable grading services to verify authenticity and accurately evaluate condition. The anticipation during that process can feel endless. Will the coin receive an ordinary grade? Or will it emerge as something remarkably scarce? That uncertainty keeps collectors searching year after year. Now let's return to the possibility everyone wonders about. You've probably seen dramatic headlines suggesting certain Lincoln cents are worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those stories usually involve extraordinarily rare circumstances, exceptional preservation, famous mint errors, or unique collector demand rather than an ordinary circulated coin. That's exactly why careful research matters before making assumptions about value. Still, don't underestimate what knowledge can accomplish. The difference between spending a collectible coin and preserving it often comes down to education. Collectors recommend examining the date carefully, confirming the Denver mint mark, checking both sides under strong lighting, and looking closely for unusual features. A magnifying glass can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Sometimes what appears ordinary at first glance becomes surprisingly interesting after a closer inspection. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands in a year. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Most receive only a fraction of a second of attention before disappearing again. What if your next handful deserves 30 seconds instead? History has shown that remarkable discoveries often happen when ordinary people decide to pay attention. That possibility continues driving one of America's most fascinating treasure hunts. Some collectors search bank rolls every weekend. Others inherit old jars from family members. Some stumble across forgotten collections tucked away in attics for generations. Every search begins with optimism because nobody knows exactly where the next exciting discovery will appear. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson the humble 1975 Lincoln cent teaches us. Opportunity doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind ordinary appearances. The next penny you receive in change probably won't rewrite your financial future. Most won't. But every collector who has ever made an unforgettable discovery started with exactly the same uncertainty. One coin, one careful look, one unexpected moment. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a cash register or gets tossed into a jar, pause for just a moment. Examine the date. Look for the Denver mint mark. Study the surfaces. Search for unusual characteristics. Protect anything that appears exceptional. And remember that patience, knowledge, and attention to detail have rewarded collectors for generations. Because somewhere, hidden among billions of ordinary coins, extraordinary stories are still waiting to be discovered. And until every forgotten penny has been examined, the possibility of finding the next remarkable Lincoln cent will continue capturing imaginations across America. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a single penny, the kind most people toss into a jar without a second thought, only to discover it could be worth more than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, yet stories just like this have transformed ordinary Americans into owners of extraordinary treasures. And one coin has quietly captured the attention of collectors across the country: the 2004 Lincoln 1 cent with no mint mark. Before you spend another penny, look closely, because the next coin you overlook could become the biggest financial mistake you ever make. Most people believe valuable coins must be ancient, covered in history, or made from precious metals. That's exactly why modern coins often slip through the cracks. They hide in plain sight. They circulate through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and coffee shops every single day. While millions ignore them, experienced collectors examine every detail, knowing that one unusual coin can rewrite someone's financial future overnight. The 2004 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck for circulation at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike coins from Denver that carry a D-mint mark, Philadelphia business strike cents of that year were intentionally produced without a mint mark. That means finding a 2004 penny with no mint mark isn't rare by itself. But here's where the story changes dramatically. Every great treasure begins with an ordinary object hiding an extraordinary secret. Among millions of normal examples, a tiny number escaped the mint with remarkable characteristics that separate them from everyday pocket change. These unusual pieces have become the focus of serious collectors willing to pay astonishing amounts for coins displaying exceptional errors, incredible preservation, or unique production anomalies. Now ask yourself one question. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies sitting in your change jar? Most people never do. That's exactly why hidden treasures continue to be discovered. Picture someone cleaning out an old dresser drawer. They almost dump a handful of pennies into a coin-counting machine. Then curiosity takes over. One coin looks brighter, sharper, somehow different from the rest. That moment of hesitation changes everything. Collectors examine Lincoln cents with almost detective-like precision. They search for dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, missing design elements, unusual coloration, and rare planchet errors. Even a subtle difference invisible to the average person can send experienced collectors into a bidding war. And speaking of bidding wars, here's something fascinating. When elite collectors compete for an extraordinary coin with outstanding eye appeal and certified authenticity, prices can climb far beyond what most people imagine possible. Reports of exceptional modern Lincoln cents achieving breathtaking auction results have inspired thousands of Americans to search through their own collections. Stories of coins commanding values reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars continue to fuel one of the biggest treasure hunts happening today. Some enthusiasts even speculate that an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln cent possessing an extremely rare combination of mint error, perfect condition, and collector demand could approach values as high as $774,000 in the right circumstances. While such prices represent exceptional cases rather than ordinary examples, they remind collectors that rarity, condition, authenticity, and demand together determine value. That's why grading matters so much. A coin that appears ordinary under kitchen lighting may reveal remarkable details under professional magnification. Surface preservation, original mint luster, strike quality, and microscopic imperfections all influence whether a coin receives an average grade or an elite certification. Here's where many people unknowingly lose money. They clean their coins. It seems harmless. After all, shiny looks better, right? Actually, cleaning can permanently damage a collectible coin and dramatically reduce its value. Professional collectors generally prefer untouched original surfaces, even if the coin appears dull. That layer of originality tells an authentic story that polishing can erase forever. So if you believe you've found something unusual, resist the temptation to scrub it until it sparkles. Sometimes dirt is less dangerous than enthusiasm. Now here's another twist. Not every valuable coin announces itself with an obvious mistake. Some of the most desirable pieces look almost completely normal until examined under magnification. Tiny doubling in lettering. An unusual die crack extending across Lincoln's portrait. A subtle strike through error. These details separate ordinary cents from coins that collectors actively pursue. Imagine finding one while buying groceries. Imagine receiving it as change after purchasing a cup of coffee. Imagine giving it away because it looked exactly like every other penny. That possibility keeps collectors searching every single day. But there's another reason the 2004 Lincoln cent remains so fascinating. It represents a period when billions of coins flowed through American commerce. Within that enormous production, quality control was impressive, but perfection was impossible. Every manufacturing process occasionally produces unexpected results. Those unexpected moments created the rare errors collectors dream about finding today. Think of it as history frozen in copper-plated zinc. Every strike tells the story of powerful presses operating at incredible speed. Every tiny imperfection reflects a split-second event inside the mint. Every unusual error captures a mechanical accident that can never be recreated exactly the same way again. And that's what transforms a simple penny into a conversation piece worth far more than 1 cent. Of course, authentication remains essential. Professional third-party grading services evaluate authenticity, assign condition grades, identify mint errors, and encapsulate coins for long-term protection. Serious buyers often prefer certified examples because independent verification builds confidence during high-value transactions. Without authentication, extraordinary claims become difficult to prove. With authentication, remarkable discoveries gain credibility. Now let me ask you something. How many pennies are sitting inside your home right now? 50? 500? 5,000? Some are probably hiding inside old piggy banks. Others rest in forgotten desk drawers, inherited collections, coffee cans in the garage, or jars collecting dust on a bookshelf. Most will always be worth exactly 1 cent. But all it takes is one exception. One coin. One discovery. One careful inspection. One decision not to overlook ordinary change. That's what makes this search so exciting. It isn't just about money. It's about possibility. It's about realizing that treasures don't always come from buried pirate chests or abandoned castles. Sometimes they arrive in your hand after buying lunch. As collector interest continues evolving and remarkable error coins become increasingly difficult to locate, competition for elite examples remains strong. The finest certified specimens continue attracting attention because true rarity never goes out of style. So before another handful of pennies disappears into a vending machine or coin-counting kiosk, slow down for just a moment. Turn each coin beneath the light. Examine Lincoln's portrait. Study the date. Look for unusual features. Search for striking errors. Protect anything that appears different. Because somewhere, perhaps much closer than you think, an overlooked 2000 for no mint mark Lincoln cent may still be waiting for someone curious enough to recognize what everyone else missed. And if fortune decides to hide inside your spare change, that ordinary penny could become the discovery you'll remember for the rest of your life. What if the next life-changing treasure isn't buried beneath an old farmhouse or locked inside a forgotten bank vault? What if it's sitting quietly inside a dusty coin jar on your kitchen counter right now? Every single day, millions of Americans spend pennies without a second thought. They disappear into cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, and sofa cushions. But every once in a while, one ordinary-looking penny turns out to be worth more than a luxury mansion. Today, we're uncovering the remarkable story behind the 2006 D. Lincoln 1 cent, a coin that most people overlook, but that has captured the attention of serious collectors after extraordinary examples and rare mint errors reached astonishing values. Before you dismiss that handful of pocket change, stay with me, because one tiny detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and an incredible payday. The year was 2006. Gas prices were climbing, smartphones had not yet transformed everyday life, and billions of Lincoln pennies rolled off American presses. At the Denver Mint alone, billions of 2006 D. Lincoln cents entered circulation. To the average American, they were simply another penny. But collectors understand an important truth. Rarity is rarely obvious on the day a coin is made. Time, condition, and unusual minting mistakes often transform ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. That brings us to an important question. If billions were produced, how could any 2006 penny possibly become valuable? The answer lies in something most people never think about. Not every coin leaves the mint exactly the way it should. Tiny production mistakes can create one-of-a-kind collectibles, and the better the condition, the greater the demand. Now imagine opening an old piggy bank that has been sitting untouched for years. You begin sorting pennies just for fun. One catches your eye. It looks unusually sharp, unusually bright, almost untouched. You flip it over and notice the small D mint mark beneath the date. First, it seems completely ordinary, but appearances have fooled many collectors before. Professional coin grading has changed everything. Modern collectors compete fiercely for coins preserved in nearly flawless condition. A 2006 Lincoln cent with blazing original luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually no imperfections can command prices that surprise even experienced hobbyists. Condition is king, and a tiny difference invisible to the naked eye can multiply value dramatically. But pristine condition is only the beginning. Let's talk about the mistakes that create headlines. Some 2006 pennies display striking mint errors that instantly separate them from billions of ordinary coins. Off-center strikes, dramatic die cracks, broad strikes, clipped planchets, doubled dies, die chips, and other production anomalies have fascinated collectors for decades. These mistakes are not damage caused after the coin left the mint. They happened during production, making them genuine pieces of mint history. Here's something almost funny. The mint spends enormous effort trying to make perfect coins, yet sometimes the mistakes become far more valuable than perfection itself. Imagine getting paid because someone else had a bad day at work. In the coin world, that's exactly what can happen. But don't start celebrating just yet. Not every unusual-looking penny is valuable. Scratches, corrosion, stains, and damage from circulation often fool beginners into thinking they've found a fortune. That's why careful examination matters. Real mint errors display characteristics that experts can identify and authenticate. Now the story becomes even more interesting. Over the years, exceptional Lincoln cents have shattered expectations at major auctions. While most 2006 pennies remain worth face value, the rarest certified examples with extraordinary characteristics have fueled discussions throughout the collecting community. Reports of exceptionally valuable specimens reaching remarkable prices, including figures approaching $776,000 under extraordinary circumstances involving elite grades, significant rarity, or exceptional error combinations, continue to inspire collectors to examine every coin they receive. Think about that for a moment. Most people wouldn't bend over to pick up a penny lying on the sidewalk. Yet another person might gladly spend months searching through thousands of pennies hoping to discover one extraordinary survivor. Who has the better strategy? History suggests patience often rewards the prepared. This is where many valuable discoveries begin. Estate sales, old coffee cans, grandparents' collections, forgotten dresser drawers, garage sale boxes, bank rolls. Every one of these places has produced remarkable coin finds that changed someone's expectations forever. Imagine explaining to your family that the dusty jar everyone ignored for 20 years actually contained a collector's dream. They might laugh at first. Then they'd probably ask if you have any more jars to search. Here's another detail many people miss. Color matters. Collectors classify copper-plated Lincoln cents by their original appearance. Coins retaining brilliant original mint color generally command stronger premiums than those that have darkened or become spotted through years of circulation. Combined with outstanding preservation, original color dramatically increases collector demand. Now let's raise the stakes. Counterfeit alterations also exist. Some individuals modify ordinary coins hoping to imitate valuable varieties. That is why authentication from respected grading services remains essential before believing extraordinary value claims. Professional certification protects buyers and sellers while confirming authenticity, condition, and any genuine mint errors. You may be wondering whether searching pennies is really worth the effort. Consider this. Treasure hunting has always required patience. Gold prospectors sifted countless rocks before discovering nuggets. Pearl divers open thousands of shells before finding perfection. Coin collectors examine hundreds or even thousands of ordinary coins because they understand one remarkable discovery can make the entire search worthwhile. And unlike many expensive hobbies, searching pocket change often begins with money you already have. That makes every handful of Lincoln cents a potential opportunity. The beauty of the 2006 Lincoln penny isn't that every coin is valuable. It's that nobody can identify an extraordinary example without looking first. Every coin deserves a few seconds of attention before disappearing forever into circulation. The next time a cashier hands you change, resist the urge to shove it straight into your pocket. Turn the pennies over. Check the date. Look for the D-mint mark. Examine the surfaces under good lighting. Watch for unusual doubling, off-center strikes, missing details, or other genuine mint errors. Preserve promising coins carefully, avoiding unnecessary cleaning because cleaning almost always reduces collector value. Here's the cliffhanger that keeps experienced collectors searching year after year. Some of the most valuable discoveries were made by ordinary people who almost spent the coin before taking one last look. That final glance changed everything. The difference between an ordinary day and an unforgettable one sometimes measures less than an inch across. So before you dismiss another penny as practically worthless, remember the remarkable journey of the 2006 Lincoln cent billions were made. Millions have disappeared into everyday commerce, but only a tiny number possess the exceptional combination of preservation, rarity, and genuine mint characteristics that serious collectors compete to own. Somewhere, another remarkable example may still be hiding in plain sight, waiting inside an old collection, a forgotten coin roll, or the loose change resting in someone's pocket at this very moment. The question isn't whether valuable coins exist. The question is whether you'll recognize one before someone else does.